Hello students, today we are going to study The Adventure. It is written by Jayant Narlikar. Let's discuss about the lesson first. In his typical and inimitable style, the scientist-writer Jayant Narlikar whips a fantastic tale in which a crank professor of history in a state of concussion travels back into time and has a different, a wishful view of Indian history. His rationalist friend Professor Rajendra Deshpande, a physicist, by applying physics theories of catastrophe and lack of determinism in quantum theory, tries to explain Professor Ganton's fantastic sojourn into history. Now, what does section 1 tells about this lesson? It tells about Professor Ganton's adventure into the past. So, whose adventure? Ganton's adventure into the past. Okay. Now, Professor Ganton, in a state of transition, travels to the past, to the Maratha and British rule. Where he went? Maratha and British rule. Then he travels in a Maratha railway train called Jijamata. What was the name of the train? Jijamata. Express from Pune to Bombay. Then Bombay surprises Professor Ganton as it is not the modern Bombay that he knew but the British Raj Bombay. Then East India Company's office, British companies and stores astound him. Who astound him? East India Company's office and British companies. Okay. Then the railway station and the train were quaint looks of the Raj, and then is unable to meet his son Mr. Vinay Ganton at his office because his son lives in modern day Bombay. So Professor Ganton, what he decides? He decides to investigate and goes to the Asiatic Society Library to check historical facts. Now let's discuss section 2 of the lesson. What it tells? It will tell the actual history versus speculative history. So, actual history was that son of and heir to the Peshwa Vishwarao was killed and his uncle Bhua Sahib rushed into the melee and was never seen again. Then, what else? Marathas lost the battle and their political influence. Then Marathas, the British consolidated their position, railways and other British influences took place, and then Mughal king became a puppet king. You know what is a puppet? It is Katputli, a puppet king. Okay. Then what about the new history? New history up to Aurangzeb's death the same, and it took a different turn in Battle of Panipat between the Marathas and the Ahmad Shah Abdali. and Marathas won the battle. Who won the battle? Marathas won the battle. Abdali chased away, and then East India Company, scared of Maratha power, gave up their expansion programs, influence restricted to pockets like Bombay, Madras, Calcutta. Then Marathas became very powerful, and puppet Mughal regime puppet Mughal regime retained for political reasons. Maratha rulers recognized the importance of technological aid. Set up own centers for science and technology. What they did? They set up own centers for science and technology. 20th century saw India developing into a democracy. Peshwas gradually replaced by democratically elected representatives, and then advent of symbolic head of state, the president. India not enslaved, self-dependent, self-respecting. Bombay, merely a British business outpost on lease up to 2001. Then, typical at Azad Maidan, professor found of chairing public lecture meeting and strolls into Azad Maidan. And a meeting going on there and occupies president's vacant seat. Public rough him up, hurl tomatoes and eggs, etc. at him and disappearance from the scene. Then section 3. Section 3 is a scientific explanation. Now what does it explain? It explains that Professor Getonde hurt in a collision with a truck. Then he lay unconscious, but mind active. But his mind was active. Okay. Then in this state, his mind travels back in time. And this state only, his mind travels back in time and was preparing a lecture before accident on the topic what course history. On which topic he was preparing a lecture? What course history would have taken if the result of the battle of Panipat had gone the other way. Okay, so on this topic he was preparing the lecture, and not surprisingly his fantastic adventure takes him to the battle of Panipat. Now Professor Getonde's physicist friend explains his experience in terms of catastrophe theory and the lack of determinism in quantum theory, which makes us see reality from different point of view. Professor Getonde now understands the mystery behind his 2 days disappearance from Bombay, and it gives up his weakness for chairing lecture. Now on the basis of reading this chapter, you have to answer the question number 1. Briefly explain the statement the lack of determinism in quantum theory. Question number 2. Which facts of history surprised the professor and why? Okay, that's all. I hope you will be able to answer these questions. Thank you.